1944. You're a captured German soldier in an Allied camp. The war feels over for you, but then an American officer leans in and asks, "Want to go back into Germany as our spy?" That wasn't a movie pitch, although it did later turn into a film. That was Operation Sauerkraut. By the summer of 1944, the Allies were closing in on Germany, but intelligence was patchy. They needed to know troop strength, morale, defences. Dropping in Americans or Brits? Too risky. They'd be spotted instantly. German exiles? Better, but they were short supply and didn't know much about what had happened after they'd left. But German POWs? They looked the part, spoke the current slang, and could blend in at checkpoints. So US intelligence service started recruiting volunteers from POW camps, men who hated Hitler, were disillusioned, or just desperate for a way out. The first Sauerkraut class came out of a camp near Naples, Italy. 16 POWs were chosen. Among them were men like Reinhard, former infantryman who despised the Nazi regime, and Klaus, who'd been drafted and wanted nothing more than to see the war end. They signed contracts confirming they were volunteering, no coercion. Then got Wehrmacht uniforms, forged papers, a sidearm, rations, compasses, even cigarettes to make it seem believable. Their packs carried something unusual, though. 3,000 pieces of black propaganda, fake leaflets, newspapers and stickers designed to look like they came from an underground German resistance. One of them was a bogus magazine called Das Neue Deutschland, meant to convince soldiers that even inside the Reich people were plotting against Hitler. Very believable after the 20th of July plot. Behind all this was Corporal Barbara Loras, a Czech-born American in the OSS, Morale Operations Branch. Fluent in 5 languages, she recruited POWs, crafted fake identities, and designed the propaganda. For her work, she'd later be awarded the Bronze Star. So between July the 25th and March the 21st, 1945, 13 Sauerkraut missions were launched. Teams were given names like Ada, Marie, and Rosie, and they were smuggled across the front, sometimes on foot, sometimes by jeep, and then slipped further into German territory with 2 tasks. Plant the story, scatter the leaflets, all printed on local paper and poor quality so that it looked real, and then cast doubts about Hitler's future. And then when they came back to see things and identified. This was insanely dangerous. If the Gestapo caught you, you weren't treated as a POW, you were a traitor. Execution was almost guaranteed, and the family would also probably be punished, probably by disappearing into a concentration camp. Not every agent did make it back. Some, like Klaus's partner on his mission, simply vanished, but others returned with critical information, unit locations, troop morale, and evidence that civilians were exhausted and losing faith. And this fed directly into Allied intelligence. And the propaganda? Well, it rattled German confidence enough that the OSS considered Sauerkraut one of its most successful morale operations of the war. So in the end, Sauerkraut wasn't about daring commandos, it was about German POWs, men who once wore Hitler's uniform, choosing to risk death by turning against him. Small missions with only a handful of men, but they did prove that sometimes these things can be very, very effective.